We are Black Hawks. We are St. Louis.
It's always wonderful to have the Hall of Famers in town, and this evening, part of the 1982 championship team, Bruce Sutter signing autographs in the Ford Plaza, and this evening, it's his bobblehead giveaway. Milwaukee and St. Louis this weekend. And with Rick Horton, I'm Dan McLaughlin, and welcome to Cardinals Baseball. Now we jump ahead to the 2012 version of the St. Louis Cardinals. And in many ways, Rick, this is a make-or-break time for this team because of all the home games here in the month of August.
Yeah, they've really been stuck a bit over the last few weeks, and the time is now to start moving. 33% of the games the rest of this month are against Pittsburgh and Cincinnati. So you've got to start making up ground. To me, the starting pitching is still the key to making that happen.
It's going to be so much fun this weekend, a celebration of 1982, one of the famous moments in franchise history, the final out, Game 7 of 82. And Bruce Sutter, engine number 42, recorded it. Stadium, the 1982 World Champions. It went 7 games in the Fall Classic between St. Louis and Milwaukee. Let's take you back. Here's Pat Paris.
The 1982 Fall Classic was dubbed the Sud Series. Bush against Miller, St. Louis against Milwaukee. The World Series was a study in contrast. Harvey Keene and Whitey Herzog led their respective squads. Milwaukee built on power. St. Louis built on speed. Game 1 was played at Busch. First time St. Louis hosted a World Series since 1968. Harvey's wallbangers did plenty of banging in Game 1, rocking St. Louis pitchers for 17 hits and 10 runs, while Mike Caldwell tossed a 3-hit shutout. The Cards evened the series with a firm 5-4 victory in Game 2. The decisive run scoring when pinch hitter Steve Braun walked with the bases loaded in the 8th inning. Milwaukee threatened late, but Suter shut the door. Game 3 was in Milwaukee, where the fans were having a blast. But it was Cardinal rookie center fielder Willie McGee who had the blast. A 3-run homer in the 5th. And if that wasn't enough, he robbed Gorman Thomas of a home run in the 9th inning. McGee's Game 3 heroics gave the Cardinals a 6-2 win and a 2-1 series lead. Game 4 had a few controversial calls. Each manager got a chance to give the umpire their opinions. It didn't matter. A 6-run Brewers 7th tied the series at 2 games apiece. Game 5, usually considered pivotal, was a tight affair, but in the end, Robin Yount's home run helped Milwaukee outlast the running Redbirds. Brewers were 1 win away from their first ever World Series win, but the series was headed back to Busch. Game 6 in St. Louis was wet and wild. As the rain came down, the Cardinals' run total went up. 13 total runs by St. Louis. Meanwhile, John Stuper was solid against the vaunted Brewer offense, allowing just 4 hits and 1 run while going the distance. In Game 7, the Cardinals trailed 3-1 in the 6th, but Keith Hernandez's 2-run single tied the game, and George Hendrick followed with another single to put St. Louis on top. Bruce Sutter finished off Milwaukee with 2 perfect relief innings as St. Louis clinched their 9th World Series.
Sutter from the belt to the plate. A swing and a miss, and that's a winner! That's a winner! A World Series winner for the Cardinals!
Speaking of crowds, let's take a look at what happens in the stands.
Nicely done, young man. Not sure of his name, but what a great play. And he brought his glove to the ballpark.
Swings the first pitch, loses the handle of the bat. No, don't take it. That guy's pumped up. Pretty excited. He's getting the bat.
Nice play, Gamer. That's not the first time he's caught a foul ball.
He went to throw it. And it slipped out of his hand and went right into the crowd.
Staying late for the extra innings, perseverance, and picking up a souvenir. Watch this foul ball.
Keep watching. going to get that. Oh, sorry, ladies, don't mind me. Yeah!
With Jason Mott, who closed it out in 2011. And of course, you have to mix in right in the middle there, Rick Horton, Adam Wainwright, who did it back in 06.
Yeah, they both did it, but I love this conversation with these two. Very similar kind of personalities, very easygoing guys that certainly work hard and are very gifted. But I love the fact that Jason Mott is asking him questions.
Well, let's meet this lineup of Milwaukee, brought to you by Southwest Airlines. Aoki, Gomez, and Braun, then Hart, Weeks, Maldonado, Ransom, Isturis, and the pitcher, Randy Wolf. And Joe Kelly gets the start for St. Louis.
Kelly has been very good of late. A number of quality starts in a row. He has been outstanding.
And the defense behind Joe Kelly, Holiday, Robinson, and Beltran in the outfield. Left side of the infield, Freese and Furcal. Right side, Descalso and Craig. And it's Yadier Molina, the Gold Glover. Good to see him healthy enough to play tonight. That's brought to you by Dobbs. Ron Renicky and the Milwaukee Brewers in St. Louis. And baseball tonight is brought to you by Budweiser. Great times are waiting. Grab some buds. By your Mid-America Chevy dealers, the #1 selling brand in St. Louis. Find us at stlchevy.com. By Dobbs Tire and Auto Centers, #1 for quality tires and expert auto service. And by Steak and Shake, just no equal. Hot, muggy night here in St. Louis. We've turned the page on the month of July and say hello to August and say hello to a lot of home games. And if the Cardinals are going to make a run this year, they'll have to do it a lot at home in the month of August, and they'll have to handle Milwaukee. 2 series remaining with the Milwaukee Brewers.
20 of the next 23 games are here at home. And this has been a team, Dan, that's really been kind of treading water for a long time, and it's time to start swimming.
Aoki is their everyday right fielder. 1-0 pitch by Kelly is a strike. Mike Easterbrook is the home plate umpire, calling balls and strikes. Down at first, Tim Welke. He's the crew chief. Mike Everett at second. And the longtime major leaguer, both American and National League, when they had the split umpiring crews, Laz Diaz. 2 balls and 1 strike.
6 straight quality starts, 6 innings, actually 7 straight quality starts, but 6 innings, 11 earned runs in his last 6 starts. And unfortunately, he's not getting the wins. Joe Kelly not getting enough run support. Maybe that could change here tonight.
Count falls to 3-1. Milwaukee has been on a tear with their offense, coming off a 3-game sweep of Houston, which they just dominated with the long ball. Team average was close to 400. 3-2 is the count.
4 games in a row where they've scored 8 or more runs. So you have to be careful with this lineup. Got to make sure the guys in the front, Aoki and Gomez, that you handle them in front of Braun.
David Freese steps back a step or 2 down at third, and the 3-2 pitch is a ground ball. Backhanded by Descalso, 1 away.
Descalso's done a nice job filling in for Furcal at shortstop. Ralphie back in the lineup tonight. Very good plus defender, and he made a couple of spectacular plays in Colorado playing shortstop.
Here's Carlos Gomez, who's made some adjustments at the plate, and because of that, his numbers have been on the rise. Average at 253. Well, you talked about Kelly giving you at least the 6 innings. He has not gone very deep, though, into games. And one of the reasons why is that he falls behind an awful lot. The diving Freeze can't make the play, and neither can Furcal, as Gomez can run and gets down the line. Deep into counts, and you don't see Joe Kelly staying in deep into a lot of games.
And that would have been a bigger concern perhaps 3 weeks ago when the Cardinals bullpen was struggling more than they are now. With the new faces, Fuentes and Mujica, Cardinals have gotten better output in the 6th and 7th innings. But I think Joe Kelly long term is going to be a guy that can go deeper into a game, but keeping away from the 3-ball counts and the deep counts is really the secret to doing that.
Here's Ryan Braun, 29 home runs for Braun. Almost picked off Gomez. Craig thought they had him.
Kelly has shown a quick move. Boom. Get rid of it. Bang, bang.
Mike Matheny before the game tonight was talking about how strong he believes Kelly is. Also his athleticism. We've seen that as a pinch runner, also as a pinch hitter. Ryan Braun, terrible way to start your entire season with the accusations of the drug use and performance enhancers in spring training. That ruling was overturned. First time that's happened in baseball. You wondered if it would affect him at the plate, and clearly it is not. He's put up big numbers again.
He's also putting up big numbers without having Prince Fielder next to him, and I thought that would be just as big a problem as all the allegations he was dealing with, whether he did or didn't. The fact is, you lose a guy with a power bat in the middle of your lineup, and that puts more pressure on you, and it gives you less pitches to hit, but he's still producing.
Tonight they do not have Ramirez in this lineup, so Hart moves up to fourth. Chance for Yachty, guns it to second, right on the bag. Wow, what a throw by Yadier Molina, and Gomez is caught stealing. Descalso didn't even have to move the glove.
Not a bad jump by Gomez. He wasn't afraid to keep that big lead, even though Kelly was working on him. How about that throw? Could not have been better. Right on the bag. Nice play by Descalso. Keeps the tag on Gomez, and Yachty is, you can be hot offensively. Yachty's hot throwing right now.
And Braun shoots one into right center, and the catch is made by Carlos Beltran. Cardinals coming up in the home half of the first. Cowell, then Craig and Holiday here in the first. Carlos Beltran will be cleanup man for Mike Matheny's club. Then Freese, Molina, Descalso, Shane Robinson called up. Berkman is on the DL, and Joe Kelly will face Randy Wolf, our Enterprise Bank and Trust starter for Milwaukee.
35-year-old left-hander got beat in his last outing against the Nationals, but the last time the Cardinals saw him, he was very good. That was on the 17th of July. He went 6 2/3 innings in that game and just gave up 2 earned runs and had 6 punch-outs.
Braun, Gomez, and Aoki in the outfield. This is presented by Dobbs. Ransom, Isturis, Weeks, and Hart along the infield. Behind the plate, Martin Maldonado. George Gutierrez was traded to Oakland with the emergence of Maldonado. And there's the former Cardinal shortstop, Cesar Isturis. Rafael Furcal dealing with a sore back and looks at a strike from Randy Wolf, who's pitched well after the All-Star break. And Furcal pops it up to the right side. Weeks going out to make the catch, and there's one away.
Wolf gives up a lot of hits and a lot of runs. Third in the National League in runs. But he's also very cagey. When he gets on a roll, he can pitch inside with the best of them. He's not overpowering with his fastball, and he likes to throw the tantalizingly slow curveball. He'll change speeds with it. One of the crafty left-handers that we like to talk about.
Now Alan Craig. First pitch is hit out of play, and strike one. So on the previous start a few weeks ago in Milwaukee, Randy Wolf, at one point, registered a pitch that was under 60 miles an hour.
I think you have to throw at 45 just to reach home. I think that's the physics of it.
A little late on that swing. Hit down the right field line and out of play. Gentleman brought his glove, and he'll hear the boos.
With a Lance Berkman jersey honoring Lance. Unfortunately, Lance has had a rough season, re-injuring his knee. The Cardinals with Shane Robinson in center field today. And Berkman going to miss a couple of weeks and try to strengthen his knee. And it's just a shame that he's not been able to get on track.
0-2 is fouled back. He's talking with Lance before the road trip about his potential of the Hall of Fame, and he said, I've heard my name associated with that, but more times than not, with my kind of numbers and where I'm at right now, you've got to play 18, 19, 20 years. And according to him, he said, I'm just not sure I'm going to be able to do that physically, nor am I sure mentally if I want to do that to extend my career.
All players face that particular question, and I'm sure those thoughts are swimming around in his head right now as to whether or not this latest injury is just overcomable, and all the work that goes into doing that. Comeback player of the year a year ago, so he knows how to do it, but there's a will involved.
1-2 the count. Outfield is deep and straight away for Alan Craig. Last time we saw the Milwaukee Brewers, Zach Greinke was part of their starting pitching staff, and he's been traded to Anaheim for prospects. Big curveball and a strikeout of Craig. Most that follow the game will tell you at this point in the season, and we still have a long way to go, Andrew McCutchen would be their vote for the National League MVP. Joey Votto would be in the conversation, but he's been hurt. If Ryan Braun's team was a little bit better, you'd have to talk about him. And quietly in that conversation, you would have to think Matt Holliday would be in there.
Quietly in the conversation, but not quietly on the field, because what he's doing lately has just been extraordinary. The home run power that he's showing, the RBIs, the fact that he actually caught Carlos Beltran in RBIs. Beltran added one in Colorado to retake the lead, but he has just been an RBI machine, a home run machine, and I think that conversation will continue as the weeks unfold here if Matt continues to swing the bat the way he has.
Cardinals have matchups still with Pittsburgh. We talked about Milwaukee. Some games left with Cincinnati and Chicago. There's a strike, and Matt didn't like it.
But when a third of your games this month are against Pittsburgh and Cincinnati, and you've got 20 out of 23 at home, you've got it right in front of you, and you just got to grab it and do it. You can't wait for the 10.5 game magic finish in September and expect that to work again. It could.
Hit sharply and off the glove of the third baseman, and no play. A rocket off the bat of Matt Holliday. Base hit as Ransom could not come up with it. Everything he hits right now just seems to be hard.
Yeah, I wonder what Ransom's hard beats per minute are right about now. That ball came up about face high, and Holiday hits the ball so hard on the line.
So the team record since July 20th, Cincinnati has just been out of this world. And then you have the Pirates at 9-4, Cardinals 9-4. As Beltran taps one foul. Usually you play 5 games above 500 in 13 games. You're at least keeping pace, if not gaining ground.
Don't expect to be moving backward, that's for sure.
Cardinals at the start of play tonight, 8 games back in the Central, and they're 4.5 back in the wild card. Pittsburgh leading the wild card by a half game over Atlanta, and then the Cardinals 4.5. LA, will still see them one more time out at Dodger Stadium. One of the quirks in the schedule where you face a team out of your division 3 different times. Out in front, and it's popped up. Maldonado is over and makes the play. Nice catch near the camera well. And the Cardinals are done here in their half of the first. No score. First, and the Cardinals have played very well. Record 12-3, and what really stands out, the ERA. Pitching wins, bottom line, and that's the ERA of 2.02.
Bullpen's been better. The starting rotation's been really good all season long. There have been a couple of blips in the last week or so with the starting rotation, and that's why, as we talked, it's going to be key. Those 5 guys are going to be key in the month of August.
It's interesting to see that Corey Hart is batting cleanup here tonight. A year ago, Ron Renicky put him behind Prince Fielder. The idea being that he could provide a little protection with Braun and Fielder, but Hart later admitted, you just don't hear players say this, but he said, I didn't like that at all. I felt a lot of pressure hitting behind those guys and trying to put up numbers to justify being in that 5 spot, or tonight being in the cleanup spot hitting behind Braun.
Some guys thrive on that. You know, the name that pops into my head is Tony Perez, maybe one of the best kind of RBI machines after kind of the guys in the middle of the lineup. He classically hit 5th for the Big Red Machine and kept producing RBI. So it can be a sweet place to be. And yeah, there's a little pressure that goes along with it. Some guys like it, some guys don't.
Here's Ricky Weeks. I was talking with Eduardo Perez a couple of weeks ago when they were in town, and he brought up his dad. And we were talking about situational baseball and how certain players just don't understand their role. And as he said, just as you did, he said, my dad, his job was to get people in. And his mindset was he wanted the pressure of driving guys in. And he also feels that there's certain players that just don't want that type of pressure. 0-1 pitch to Weeks is taken high and away.
And there are times you can see that difference in a player's eyes from 60 feet 6 inches, whether or not he's one of those guys that wants to be there or not. Some guys thrive on it. They just become more aggressive. And then, of course, the pitcher's job is to use their aggressiveness against him by making him expand the zone a little bit. A lot of mental stuff in this game.
2 balls and 1 strike. Seeing the velocity of Joe Kelly tonight, according to our gun, has been around 94, 95 miles an hour. And you bring that up because this time last year in the minor leagues, his velocity was really dropping. Hit a dead arm stage, and that has not been a problem this year, which is good to see.
Very consistent.
Two-one pitch.
His next level in his development is a more dominating, put-away breaking pitch. Now, he can throw a breaking pitch. Everybody in the big league knows how to, but the point is, do you throw it with command and as a weapon? And he's not quite there yet.
Remember, Hart was in the leadoff spot for a while last year. A big man, but he can run. 3-1 pitch. Ground ball left side. Nice play by Freese. Out at second, and they'll get the lead man. But how about the soft hands there of David Freese to his left to get Hart going to second. Nice play.
Really a do-or-die play for David Freese. The only way he can make this play is to get the short hop. Takes the perfect route to it, gets the short hop, very smooth hands, gives with it as the ball hits his glove, and gets the runner that really matters, and that's the lead runner. Descalzo trying to hang in with the big Corey Hart right on top of it.
Martin Maldonado. And that's a base hit out to left. Weeks to second. Stops there, and it's runners at first and second with 1 out.
You mentioned the Brewers swept the Houston Astros, and one point you might make is, okay, the Astros are down, a whole bunch of new faces. That's just a bad team right now, so it doesn't really tell you much. On the other hand, when you get used to scoring 8 runs a game, if you're the Brewers, that can carry over against a better ball club. So that's the danger here tonight.
The Brewers right now 18-30 on the road, and just 4 games above 500 at home. Last year they were the best home team in all of baseball. Ransom at 203 with 9 homers. He's driven in 37. Message within the game as Molina held that ball a little longer to get back to Joe Kelly. Thought that was a strike. Instead, it's 2 balls and no strikes. And Joe would love the double play. No score here in the top of the second. Going back with the same pitch. Misses again, 3-0. Remember, Joe Kelly in college, UC Riverside, was a reliever. At one point he was a closer, so as his innings begin to pile up, these will be career highs for him, whether it be in the minor leagues or in college baseball. 8 away from his career high. Makes you wonder too, Rick. He is young. In baseball terms, he is inexpensive. How many times was his name brought up by opposing teams near the trade deadline?
Saw a few tweets on that. A couple of teams interested in him, and he's the kind of guy you want, that you can control a bit contractually. And a guy that has some upside.
Walk to Ransom, and now it's Isturis. Remember, North Star Ice Cream, and that'll be this Sunday. Another reminder, too, that Sunday's game is on ESPN, Sunday Night Baseball, so the game time has changed. Cardinals that night will be wearing that victory blue, powder blue uniforms, and Milwaukee will wear their throwback blue uniforms from 1982 tomorrow night. Bases loaded for Cesar Isturis. Switch hitter, batting .239, and in his career always noted for his glove and not his bat.
He has been swinging the bat better of late and really been a problem for the Brewers trying to replace the guy they thought was going to play shortstop every day, Alex Gonzalez. We've seen him over the years. Good bat, but a marvelous fielder. And the Brewers have just not been the same without him.
Remember, they also lost their first baseman, Matt Gamble. So Hart is shifted to first after playing in right field. 1 ball, 1 strike. And then Aoki, who they thought would come off the bench, has been their everyday right fielder. They've been very pleased with him. Outfield very shallow for Isturis. A chance to do some damage here for the Brewers here in the top of the second. One and two. Here's a 1-2 pitch. A little tapper to the right side and foul. I guess, Rick, we should not be overly surprised as you get a look at Randy Wolf, who's on deck. He can swing the bat a little bit. But the numbers for Kelly not going deep into games, a byproduct of a lot of pitches, and the fact that in the minor leagues he would walk quite a few too once he was converted to a starter. Here's a 1-2 pitch. Little tapper out to the plate. Kelly to Molina for the force. There's the athleticism that we talked about.
And he used his brain there, too. What I liked about the way Joe Kelly attacked that ball is he didn't panic. He didn't rush it. You can almost see himself willing his body to slow down a bit and just get one. There's no way you're going to get two. And then just make a nice, easy flip. You're right. He's athletic. He's shown that in a number of ways. And he helps himself out defensively.
I think the first time I really saw that was on the road trip to Miami. Late innings, he picked up an infield base hit, his first in the major leagues, and beat it out. Proved to be a very key hit and RBI. Cardinals eventually won that ball game, dramatic fashion, by a run. So you get that 8th place hitter with the bases loaded and 1 out. Mentally, don't give in to Randy Wolf. Put him away.
I'm sure he's well aware of Randy Wolf's ability to hit. He has some power, and I'm sure that was explained to him very clearly in the meeting with the pitching coach and the catcher prior to the game. That's a pretty extensive meeting, too. Talk about what the strengths of hitters are and what they like to do in their approach, and lot to take in for a rookie pitcher.
One pitch. Just missed. This has been a pretty tight zone for Joe Kelly early on. 2-1. If Randy Wolf had a bad day with his brother, Jim Wolf would call that a strike.
Just thinking that. Here we go, thinking alike again.
Oh, yeah.
Very scary.
There's a base hit into right. 1 run will score. The throw by Beltran. They'll test him. It's to the plate, but not in time. 2-0 Milwaukee. Randy Wolf with a base hit, and he drives in 2. That's RBIs 3 and 4 this year for the lefty, and it's 2-0 Milwaukee.
Joe Kelly helped himself defensively on the ball hit back to him by making a good play. And now Randy Wolf helps himself offensively with the bat. A pitch middle. And that may be the difference between being a 2-1 count as opposed to the 1-2 count. If he'd have gotten that pitch before, perhaps he wouldn't have gone so much in the middle of the plate. Now is the time to compose yourself and move on, move forward.
Runners at first and second. Aoki on a 3-2 pitch, first time up, grounded out to second, 0 for 1 on the night. 4 hits already for the Brewers. As we celebrate the 1982 champions, Bruce Sutter will join us home half of the second inning. The Hall of Famer, who's been instrumental in getting many of his former teammates here to town. One 0 pitch. This time he gets the call. Hasn't got that all night.
A delayed call at that.
Two balls and 1 strike. Think about 1982 and one of the big differences in the game, the strike zone, and it has gotten very, very tight. And even from the time when you played, Rick, you're talking about 85, 87. You were world champion with the Dodgers in 88, early 90s. It's even gotten tighter from that time.
And I think that the tightness that I think hurts the pitcher more is not getting just below the kneecap, because that's the pitch that produces a lot of outs. A lot of people talk about the pitch up in the strike zone, wanting the high strike. But to me, the rule book says that it's the hollow just below your knee. And of course, that's pretty arbitrary, a little subjective. But when you get that pitch that's below the knee, you're just going to get a lot more ground balls and a lot more outs.
The count is full. The runner's off with this pitch. The 3-2 on its way. Pulled foul. Eleven pitches in the first inning for Joe Kelly. 28 here in the second.
Just what you were talking about. The high pitch count.
It's another 3-2 pitch and hit left side for a base hit. 3-0 Milwaukee. No play or throw from Holiday. Runner scores easily. Aoki makes it 3-0 Brewers.
When we saw Aoki early in the season, you could knock the bat out of his hand. He just likes to kind of flick his wrists, hit the ball the other way, finds a hole. Not a good start for Joe Kelly and the Cardinals.
Now Gomez, who had an infield base hit left side and then was thrown out by Yadier Molina. Caught stealing back in the first inning for out number 2. This is back to Kelly. Makes the play, and coming up, a special treat all the way from Georgia here to the Gateway City. Engine number 42, the Hall of Famer, Bruce Sutter. He'll visit next with us. team and tweet your questions at FS Midwest with the hashtag 82reunion. And we'll head to their personal suite and get those questions to them. And right now we don't have to do that because we can chat with the Hall of Famer ourselves, Hall of Famer Bruce Sutter. How you doing, sir?
Doing good, Danny. Doing real good.
I say Hall of Famer. Has it settled in yet? You are a part of one of the elite groups, the Hall of Fame.
Well, I tell Ricky all the time, how about just calling me your friend? But seeing my number retired out there, I actually have 2 sisters come to town this weekend to take some pictures of that and the bobblehead dolls. And, it's the Cardinal people have just treated me outstanding.
And for fans that don't know, you are living now full-time in Georgia. And how is your family?
Correct. Everybody's doing okay. We're hanging in there. We got problems like everybody else, but we'll be okay.
I wish I had the bobblehead in my hands because it may be the one that is closest in likeness to a former player. I mean, you've seen it. What's your take on the bobblehead?
She did an amazing job, the lady that designed it, and I'm gonna next time I have to try to convince my grandkids that that's really me. That's going to be the hardest part.
How many grandkids do you have?
I have 6.
And the youngest?
2.
And you were telling me over the weekend when we had a chance to visit, and there's David Freese, another postseason hero like Bruce Sutter was in 1982. You said, well, my grandson will never believe that this is Poppy. He's not going to believe that this is Grandpa right here.
No way. They see the baseball cards and they see some of the pictures up in the house, and they just say that's not my grandpa. So, but they're getting old enough now, a few of them, where we show them some of the World Series films and that. So it's pretty interesting.
What has your day been like thus far? When did you get here, and what have you been doing?
I guess I got here about 12:30, 1 o'clock. Got to see some of the guys over at the hotel. Did the signing, out in center field. What's it called? Friday Night Bash or something
Bush
like
Bash,
that.
Yeah.
And, just thank the Coke and Dearborn people for sponsoring my bobblehead and, getting ready to go down there and see the guys.
There's a ground out by David Freese. Let's start with your time here in St. Louis, and in particular, defined in many ways your career with the split finger pitch. How did you learn it? How did it all come about?
Well, I had a minor league pitching coach, Fred Martin, for the Cubs, and he showed me how to hold the ball and said he'd be back in a month and just, work on it. And, I'd like to tell you I had to work, but I didn't, Dan. It came to me pretty quick. It took me a while to learn how to control it, but, to get it to break, I could get it pretty consistent, pretty right off the bat.
And Ricky Horton said that your flexibility, and he was serious with this, in your wrist is second to none.
Ricky's serious?
Yes, he was serious about this. And he also said you have long fingers. He said those 2 elements, that's what made Bruce Sutter a Hall of Famer. I just stayed away. Is this true?
Well, that might be. Ricky knows everything.
Just ask him.
He's the color man. I know. I follow you guys.
I'm being serious about this, too. You watch us every night, don't you?
I watch you guys a lot, believe me. I enjoy watching the Cardinals and listening to you guys, and I like to watch the Cardinals play. They play good baseball.
2 balls and 1 strike here on Yadier Molina. Great to see Whitey go in the Hall of Fame. What does that mean to you and your teammates from that era?
I think it was long overdue. Whitey came here, and some of the Cardinal teams in the late 70s, were good teams, but not championship caliber teams. And Whitey came in and traded 14 guys, and got 10 back, and went down and managed them, and took us to the World Series, and we won in '82, and then took them in '85 and in '87. So I mean, that's a Hall of Fame career to me.
Here's a 3-1 pitch, and Molina looks at a strike, 3-2. Bruce, when you look back at 1982, special year, obviously, you win the World Series championship, and hadn't been done in a while here in St. Louis, and the team was so much fun. It was the beginning of what a great era it was in the 80s because of Whitey and really adapting the teams to that ballpark. What comes to mind when you think about 1982 and what got you over the hump that season that made it such a special team?
Well, I think, to a man, every man could run. Every man could play defense. And we had a bunch of pitchers that, we could throw strikes, keep the ball in the ballpark, and somebody was going to catch it. I mean, I think, our speed and our defense was probably our 2 strongest points.
Willie McGee, young rookie, makes a pretty good impression.
He did all right, didn't
he? Yeah. He was fun to watch and a fan favorite. And we were talking over the weekend, maybe a a milestone of that team moment was Steve Carlton going against the Phillies. You're going back and forth with the Phils for the East Division, and all of a sudden Mike Schmidt steps up. You've got what, the bases loaded, right, in the 8th inning, and Whitey calls on you with 1 out.
Right, but I think I misled you a little bit, Dan, because Rick Hummel, the commissioner, corrected me the other day.
Really?
It was Kruko, not Carlton.
Okay.
And I came in with runners on first and second and gave up a base hit to load the bases, and then I got Schmidt.
Well, then you got out of it.
Then I got out of it.
Well,
so,
still, it all.
But it ended up 2-0 game, and it was a game that really propelled us into first place and kind of just got us going.
So as the years go by, then you're telling me the commish keeps you grounded. You won't change any of your stories.
My stories are better than his, but his are probably more reliable.
And bottom line is, you got Schmidt, and you got him in the ground down, the double play, and the rest is history.
That's it. That's all that matters.
When you think of the World Series, what comes to mind of 1982?
Just striking out the last guy. Just how the crowd was, everybody was just on their feet, and how the whole day went, and how the game, I knew the game was going to come down to me, either throwing the pitch to win it or throwing the pitch to lose it, and I'm glad he swung at the high blazer. That's
Gorman Thomas, who had that strikeout, and Bruce Sutter on the mound for the final out. Jack Buck with the call, and this could be a double play. He'll take it himself, steps on the bag. And Bruce Sutter's been kind enough to join us, and we're going to tell him and put him on the spot. I'll get you to the suite. It's just going to be a couple more minutes. Stay right here with us. Recap of the two teams that made it to the World Series, and Milwaukee and St. Louis, 7 games, and the Cardinals would win it. 200 steals, and a team that went 92 and 70. Lonnie Smith, big difference maker there, obviously, with 68. And you think about it, Bruce, the stolen base, kind of a lost art right now in the game of baseball, isn't it?
Well, baseball kind of went to the 3-run homer. They're building the parks more homer friendly, but I think more and more teams are going to go back to trying to get at least 1 or 2 guys to manufacture some runs and steal some bases. I think we proved, and the Cardinals have proved over the years that, we're starting with Lou.
Absolutely.
That having that guy that can walk and steal second and third, turn it into a triple in 2 pitches is a pretty valuable tool.
This is Ryan Braun. Now, you had the ceremonial first pitch. Bruce Sutter, the Hall of Famer, is with us, retired number 42, the left field wall. And Jason Mott, former catcher, and closed out the World Series last year, caught your ceremonial first pitch, and our cameras caught you guys talking a little bit about, it looked like grips maybe, or how you're throwing a certain pitch. Can you tell us a little bit about that conversation?
Yeah, Jason wanted to know how I held my fastball, because since I was the 98 guy.
Yeah, right.
No, I've been watching, I do watch the Cardinals play a lot, and and I've been seeing him cut some balls. And I just, wanted him to show me how he was holding it to cut it, and some of the things that he changed from being a catcher to being a pitcher. And I remember Jason, from a few years ago. He came out of spring training as a closer, and he lost opening day.
That's right.
And he wasn't the closer after that. And for him to fight and get back and do what he's done has just been, remarkable and great, and just a tribute to a great young man, and I always enjoy talking to him when I come back in town.
Yeah, that was against Pittsburgh, and you might remember Jack Wilson, 9th inning, opening day, picked up an extra base hit. Pirates would win that game, but Mott has regrouped, and this time last year was about the time that really he became the everyday closer, and the rest is history, and he's been very good this season. This is Corey Hart, and here comes a 1-0 pitch. You think about Bruce, and you talked about it in that game against the Phillies. When you think about a closer back when you were doing it, it was not just the final out or 3 outs. It was multiple innings at times.
Well, at times. But we had good setup guys. We had Doug Bear, we had Jim Cott, we had John Martin, we had Jeff Lottie. We had, guys down there in the bullpen that had been closers in their life, and now they were doing the setup role. And, we were strong. After the 5th, 6th inning, we didn't lose many games in those years.
What do you think about the specialization? We saw it time and again with Tony, obviously, the way that he managed, but now the specialization of the game, and in particular the bullpen.
Well, it's here to stay. I mean, it was down. I have a boy that coaches college and a boy that coaches high school, and the closer's a 1-inning pitcher in high school. And it seems like the kids with the best arms are the closers. But, they really shorten the game. I mean, the game has become a 5-inning game, and after that, it's 4 or 5 pitchers and the game's over.
Hall of Fame ceremonies were a couple of weekends ago, and it's 3-1 here on Corey Hart. What is that experience like to go back, and the attention isn't necessarily on you because you've already been inducted, but you get to really enjoy the experience? What's that like?
Well, it's just fun to be part of that. It's fun to be there with all the guys, Willie Mays, Sandy Koufax. I'm a big fan of baseball, and sometimes, like I said, I'm like a little kid. I feel like I must have made the wrong turn and I'm in the wrong place. But no, it's just really an honor, and it's just really to see guys relaxed and talk, and you can ask them stuff about their career or what they did, how they did certain things, and get the answers right from the horse's mouth, and that's pretty special.
Bruce Sutter is with us, and the first 2 have reached here in the top of the 3rd, and nobody out. 1982 World Series reunion parade and ceremony will begin our telecast at 5 tomorrow, and you'll see the motorcade, interviews, features, pregame festivities, all on Fox Sports Midwest, and then again will come your way at 5 tomorrow, and just shy of 6:30 will be our first pitch, so extended pregame coverage tomorrow. Clearly, we are saddened by the loss of Bob Forsch and obviously Darrell Porter. And I know you've been very close with many of your former teammates, and I know obviously those 2 come to mind too.
Well, it's hard, reunion, missing those 2 guys, and missing guys like Hub Kittle, Dave Ricketts, some of the other guys that were around the team, but. Life's tough sometimes, and you just got to battle through it. And, but we sure miss him, and we all loved him, and, wished he was here with us.
Absolutely. Here's Ricky Weeks, average at 212, first time up. Weeks grounded into a fielder's choice, and Joe Kelly would love to see that here. 5 of 14 first pitch strikes, the 1-0. Here's your double play. Out at second. The turn by Descalso, and Craig is just off the bag, and Weeks can run a bit and gets down the line. I think of Oberkfell to her, Ozzie just watching, and then the stretch over at first by a great glove man and Keith Hernandez. Pretty good infield back in 1982.
Pretty good, pretty good. Yeah, if you kept it in the ballpark, there was a good chance somebody was going to catch it. I think we had him.
Pretty close. Beats it out, runners at first and third, keeps it now with 1 out and a chance for Martin Maldonado. What's the biggest change? And as you've talked about, you watch a lot of baseball, watch the Cardinals. What's the biggest change in the game that you've seen?
The bullpens.
Specialization.
Absolutely. And the manager, he's only got 12 players. He's got 13 pitchers, and his hands are tied. He's got to be, smart about giving guys days off, and he's got a, there's not as much double switching as Whitey used to do, but there's, then we had specialized guys that would come in for defense and running. Now they're just on the pitching part of it.
Sure. The guys, when you go back for spring training, and it's great that Mike wanted Ozzie there and yourself and any of the Hall of Famers to come back, do the modern players come to you, Bruce, and say, can you show me the split finger? How did you throw your fastball? What'd you do in this situation? Whatever the case may be.
Not really. We get to talking, but, they're guys, they got to do what they do to get here, and they got to keep that, and they got to understand that I didn't have any choices. I had to throw the split finger. If I could throw 98, there probably wouldn't have been any split finger. But, no, they're good. They're interested. They like to know, or they'll see a film clip or something. The Cardinals are so good about bringing us back and showing replays and stuff, and so sometimes they'll ask, but most of the time they got to stick with what they got.
Now, in this particular at bat, we've seen two really good fastballs in on the hands of Maldonado. I'm assuming that's something that's changed from your era to now. You just don't see guys pitch inside as much.
Well, I wanted to see what he's going to throw there. No, the guys back then, that was part of it. Bob, would dust you, knock you down, and now they don't want that in the game, and I don't know that there's a place for the knockdown, but there's you got to be able to pitch inside to get away with some mistakes away, and so even the young pitchers, I don't care, if you hit them, you hit them, but you got to come inside and you have to get away with your mistakes.
Hall of Famer Bruce Sutter is our guest. Great to have him in town. His bobblehead tonight, reunion of the 1982 championship team. Nice pitch there. Gets him to chase. And with 2 outs, runners at first and third. Going inside, and then got him to chase. Now, you watch a lot of baseball. Do you help your kids at all? Coaching at all?
No, they teach me.
What can they teach a Hall of Famer?
Yeah, I was talking to one the other day, and he was telling me about the left-handers move to first base, how to stop all the running. Learn how to move your hands while your feet are still on the ground.
Is that right?
Now, think about that.
That's great advice, huh?
There's no stealing on the first move.
Exactly. Here's Cody Ransom. That pitch is inside. How about a player that you like to watch? If you were flipping around, you say, I'm going to stop what I'm doing because I want to watch that guy pitch or hit.
Oh, there's so many guys. Watching this year, I didn't realize how good a player Alan Craig was.
Yeah.
And watching him this year, and David Freese, this year, how good of players these guys are. Of course, Ralphie, I got to see him play quite a bit down there in Atlanta. But, Matt Holliday's having a big year, and Carlos Beltran. The Cardinals are fun to watch. I like to watch Yachty. I think Robinson Cano is right there as one of the best players in the game. He's a great defensive player, and he has power and average. But, the Cardinals, they run a lot of good players out there.
As we saw last year, anything can happen, and they're in the wild card, which is something you did not have to deal with. And for the fans, they love it. Players keeps them excited, too. Organizations feel they're still in it. It seems like that's been a good thing for baseball.
Yeah, well, I'm kind of interested to see how it works out this year with that one-game playoff.
Absolutely.
Because that's going to make the wild card teams use their number one pitcher, on that day, and then go into a series without having him, for game one. And it's going to be a little different, but, most teams it's going to take your whole staff anyhow. It's not a one-man staff.
2 balls and 1 strike on Cody Ransom. And that is taken a little bit low, and you'll be heading to the suite with the other guys. Anybody you haven't seen in a long time that you're really looking forward to getting with?
I'm looking forward to seeing Mr. Kitty Cott. I haven't seen Mr. Jim for a while, and sit down and see what he's up to.
Now, he does a good job on TV. Very good.
Yeah, but I listen to you and Al and Ricky.
Well, good. Well, we'll put you to sleep every night. Perfect. 3-1 the count here on Cody Ransom with 2 down and runners at first and third. So you're sticking with a bullpen guy that you want to definitely see.
A pitcher's always got to stick together.
Absolutely.
You see 2 guys hanging out, they'll be pitchers.
Biggest prankster from the 82 team, who was it?
LaPointe.
Well, that's not shocking at all.
Shouldn't be.
All you have to do is say hi to Dave and then let him go, and then you understand why.
Right. He holds court.
3-2 the count with 2 outs, runners at first and third, and a lead for Milwaukee. And he got him on the outside corner. Always great to see you.
Thank you, my friend.
Privilege. That is the Hall of Famer Bruce Sutter with us tonight. The celebration of the 1982 World Championship team. Cardinals baseball is brought to you by the new wireless receiver from AT Uverse. Visit att.com/freeyourtv. Rethink possible. MyKiaSt.Louis.com. And get the All-American Jack Combo at Jack in the Box. It's a no-nonsense burger with fries and a drink for only $4.99 plus tax at participating stores. Great to visit with number 42, the Hall of Famer Bruce Sutter. Rick Horton back with us, Dan McLaughlin, and the recall of Shane Robinson to the big leagues. It'll be Robinson, Kelly, and for Cowell. Cardinals trailing here in the third inning, and always great to see the Hall of Famers back. And for many of our fans, Rick, we don't hear from Bruce Sutter enough, in my opinion.
Agree 100%. It's great for me to see him because, as he said, we're friends, and he tells me just what he told you. Don't call me Hall of Famer, call me friend. And wonderful to hear him, as you talk about the Cardinals, for him to continue to use the pronoun we. And I think that's just a special part of Bruce, who he is, very humble, very connected to the Cardinals still, and I know a treat for the fans to get to hear from him tonight. It was great.
Yeah, and Bruce was telling me over the weekend that he absolutely loves the fact that the Hall of Famers are brought back on opening day. It means a lot to them personally, their families, and you know, Bruce was, it just always seemed, even before he went into the Hall of Fame, he was a part of Cardinals family, and obviously the great history of St. Louis Cardinals baseball.
And a Hall of Fame teammate. And if I say too many good things about him, he's going to come back in here and slap me. I'm very aware of that if he hears me talking good about him, because he's, again, such a humble guy, but really an outstanding teammate.
Has to be quick here, and Robinson is retired. Well, Cardinals are chasing two teams in the Central Division, the Pirates and Reds. And that's Chris Heisey going deep for Cincinnati off of Wandy Rodriguez. And Matt Latos would step up and help his own cause, as Latos getting the start tonight for the Cincinnati Reds. And we know it's a home run park, and he takes one deep, 3-0. That's in the top of the 8th. Reds, obviously, late innings now have to be considered one of the better teams in the back end of their bullpen. Broxton, and then Aroldis Chapman, and it seems like the only time that Chapman has had any issue is outside of the National League in interleague play, and that's it.
Yeah, not much of an issue with that. He's just dominating right now and just keeps climbing the leaderboard with saves. And you know, he really is just electric. And unless he somehow hits a speed bump, the Reds are going to be tough to beat.
Still plenty of time, but it's always an interesting question. Who are you cheering for to win and lose this weekend of two teams that you have to chase and try to catch.
Well, you start with you want them both to lose, and you realize that can't happen. So it really is a good question. You know, do you catch the team in front of you, or do you want to catch the team that's at the top? And you know, I think when it's all said and done, the fact that there's such competition in the Central Division, Dan, is probably the silver lining in this, because maybe even though the Cardinals aren't gaining ground, they're gaining ground on the rest of the National League in terms of the wild cards. So that still could be a good thing that they're being pushed to win really every night right now to keep pace with the Reds.
2-2.
I understand that's a reach as a silver lining, but we've seen that happen before.
You bet. A strikeout of Kelly, the second of the night for Randy Wolf. MLB.TV, wherever you may be, vacation, on the road, for work, whatever the case may be. Take us with you, MLB.TV.
So glad to see Bruce Sutter here and listen to him up here in the booth. And I'm just reminded of my first year here in St. Louis. I was doing an interview at 5:05. And it was a live interview on the field, TV interview, and went out to do shag in the outfield. Bruce met me at the foul line, and he said, "What time is it?" And I said, 5:05. And he said, 5 o'clock is Whitey's time, and don't you ever violate that again. And I said, well, I was doing an interview. And he said, I don't care. It's Whitey's time. You do and be where you're supposed to be. And I'll never forget that. Bruce is embarrassed when I say that, because it's a little out of character for him in some ways. But he held so much weight in the clubhouse in terms of what was right and what was wrong. You mentioned and brought up Bob Forsch, very similar. Those two guys, great friends, great leaders in the clubhouse, principled leaders, not just on the field, but how do you play the game correctly. And I learned so much from both of those guys. I'm indebted to their friendships in ways I can't even explain.
It seems like Bruce and you and Al have for a number of years run the fantasy camp, and Bruce was there this last year, and it seems like he just eats it up being a part of the Cardinals. And obviously, if you're a big time fan, you're going to fantasy camp, and he loves it.
And he humbly asks every time, well, if you guys want me, I'd like to come back again.
Right.
As if that's really in question.
Here's a 3-1 pitch for Kyle. A little bouncer to the right side. Weeks from his knee and makes a nice play. Takes a hit away for Kyle. Cardinals go in order, and they trail tonight. .com to start planning your next Missouri getaway. And you're seeing images of the Kemper Museum of Contemporary Art, located in Kansas City. Kemper Museum has a growing permanent collection of modern and contemporary art. All galleries are free of charge and open to the general public. Find out more about the Kemper Museum of Contemporary Art at visitmo.com.
I think this is an important inning for Joe Kelly. He's facing 8-9-1 in the fourth inning, and if he can get through what should be an easier part of the lineup here, then perhaps he can get on a roll and stay in this game a little deeper. But if he allows some base runners with his Sturris, Wolf, and then Aoki, now he's got to face the big boppers with guys on base, and he's already had a number of jams here tonight.
And that is a strike to his tourist. Kelly struck out the last 2 that he saw. I'm going to ask you a question that you could probably answer a million different ways, but how do you try to correct the inconsistencies of not being able to throw strikes? And there's a base hit for his tourist. He's thinking 2, and he can still run in there at second base. It's a double for Cesar Izturis.
I love that question, Dan, because when you're talking about the things that can force you to be off in your mechanics perhaps, or your release point, and here's that attempt by Allen. Craig lays out and unfortunately knocks it a little bit to the backside of Descalzo, who was hustling to get the ball as well. So kind of a strange double, but that's how this inning starts. It can be release point, it can be finger pressure, it can be you're not putting your lower half of your body in the right position for your arm to come through at the right time.
Yanni to third. Izturis gone for the first out.
That helps.
2-5 fielder's choice on that play.
Mentioned how well Yadi's been throwing of late. Again, he's just low on the right side of the base with every throw. Both he and Tony Cruz threw very well on the last road trip. Can really be a weapon. I think the key when you're having control issues is don't tinker with too much. It's a little bit like, and I know not all of our viewers are golfers, but anybody that says, well, how do you stop slicing? And there's about 5 things you can do, and you try all 5 of them at once, and you wonder, okay, which one of them really helped me here? You got to kind of go at it piecemeal and figure out, how do I make that small adjustment to get that ball on the corner instead of a few inches off the plate.
Are those corrections primarily done in bullpen sessions?
I think they can be done playing catch.
We see that all the time too. Guys discover pitches just by playing catch.
I learned from Danny Cox a long time ago. Never play catch without aiming at something. Even if you're, and we tell young kids that at the Cardinals clinics that Scott Terry does. When you don't just throw the ball, throw it at a bird on the bat, throw it to the glove, throw it to a part of the glove. So you get so used to thinking accuracy, accuracy, accuracy. You can't just all of a sudden get that when you stand on the mound if you haven't been practicing it every time you throw a baseball.
And then you talk about, all the different things that you could do. For instance, if you're Joe Kelly and you say, all right, I'm going to concentrate on that one thing. This is the one aspect of the game that I need to work on. And all of a sudden you overcompensate with that, and that becomes an issue too. So it's a, at times, complicated issue as Molina has the runner held up.
Run at him.
Throws to second. Quickly back to first, and Craig will tag him out.
Tire him out a little bit. Keep him in the rundown for a few minutes.
Yadi's all over the place here in the top of the 4th defensively. Nice play.
Well, Wolf was trying to read that this ball was in the dirt, and he thought he could go, and then he realized that Yadi picked it, and now he just tried to sneak his way down to second base. And not the cleanest rundown you're ever going to see, but it produces a result.
Here's a 2-2 pitch to Aoki. Slices it foul and out of play.
Well, we were hoping for a nice easy 1-2-3 inning. It hasn't exactly been easy. But he might get the 1-2-3 he wanted if he can get Aoki. Again, very interesting style of hitting by Aoki. A lot of moving parts with his lower half.
Almost running out of the box as he's swinging the bat. Here's a 2-2 pitch.
Doesn't strike out very much. Runs well enough, doesn't hit into double play. So kind of a classic leadoff hitter style. I say classic, almost a little more old school. A lot of teams now want their leadoff guy to be able to have a little pop.
The 3-2 is slowly hit towards short for Cowell to first, safe. Base hit for Aoki and his second hit of the night.
The look of frustration on Joe Kelly's face as he saw right away he wasn't going to be able to get this ball. He knew that that would be a tough play for Call. Ball hit just to his right side. There's his frustration. For Call on the move. Couldn't be any quicker.
Rafael Furcal, when he came over to St. Louis last year, just tore up Milwaukee. Made every play and was hitting home runs. Brewers have seen enough of him. And Furcal was telling us the other day, a lot of this season has just been getting back to playing every day, something he hasn't done all that much the last couple of seasons because of injuries. Little floater down the right field line, and that is a fair ball. Aoki, who we've seen can run on his way to third, and they will hold him up. Thought about sending him after it was fisted out and muscled out by Gomez for the double. But you have Braun coming up.
Couple of feet fair into the corner. The runner Aoki has good speed, but Beltran gets to it quickly, and good communication to Descalzo to let him know that Aoki wasn't going. Somebody was yelling to him, I think from the Cardinals dugout, because he could have just turned and fired that ball aimlessly, and kind of nice to make sure you've got teammates there being your eyes and ears for you.
Thinking along here with Mike Matheny, first base is open. Would you want to deal with Hart with the bases loaded? The other part of that is that we've seen that Joe Kelly has been inconsistent inside the strike zone, so load the bases and then you worry about his control.
I think that's why this is the good move to go ahead and pitch to him, and that's kind of against some common sense, as good as Braun is. Hart may be the hotter hitter of the two, another factor, but when you've got a pitcher that maybe at least tonight you're not trusting to be able to hit corners. If you've got Kyle Loesch on the mound right now, you're walking Ryan Braun, because you know he'll make the pitch that he needs to make to Corey Hart.
So that last pitch in on the hands of Braun, and we noticed the last road trip to Milwaukee how far away now he stands from the plate.
Well, he has a sore thumb too, and that's part of it, and that's not going to help.
Cincinnati and Pittsburgh have had fits with Ryan Braun. St. Louis, well, they've seen one home run. You expect that, and only 2 RBIs and a .233 batting mark.
Having some minor issues with his left hand. That may be part of the reason why he's staying so far off the plate.
See a mislocation there,
and you can see the left hand come right off the bat. Well, even when he's not 100%, he's still a pretty good man to send up to the plate if you're Ron Renicky.
You bet. Big gap into left center field. Ron can spray it to all fields, and maybe that thumb, as you talked about, a reason why you shade him into right center. He's been taking balls that way. This time he strikes out. Big strikeout for Joe Kelly. Had a chance to throw out the first pitch, and with him is 5-year-old Avery Budd. And Avery's been through 3 open heart surgeries. To learn more about this brave little girl, you can go to averysjourney.com. averysjourney.com. Very well done by the Vincent Mortgage Group and Sean Vincent. Nice to see that. A lead for Milwaukee. They have 9 hits in 4 innings against Joe Kelly. Here's Alan Craig. Randy Wolf has not been going deep into most of his games this year, and for Ron Renneke, when they look back at the 2012 season, one of their issues will be with their former closer John Axford, and in a general sense the entire bullpen. They've had issues with this bullpen as Craig picks up a base hit into center.
And the bullpen didn't get better when they went to K-Rod. They replaced Axford with Rodriguez in the bullpen, and he gave up 10 earned runs in his first 3 innings of work as the closer. And so they're really a mess. There was talk about them using Livan Hernandez on a regular basis as a closer. No offense to Livan Hernandez, but when your closer's throwing 81, you have problems.
And as we talked about with Bruce Sutter, the specialization of the game, and you just don't see closers unless it's a unique situation go more than 3 outs. I mean, 90-95% of the time it's the final inning and that's it.
I'm just sitting here trying to figure out which letter in Big Mac land Holiday's going to knock out.
Check swing and did not go.
I'm going to go with the C. We've seen him do it a number of times in batting practice. And if anybody can do it, it's him.
He's gotten the I, and he's also gotten the G. $1 discounts, by the way, on McCafe products. All St. Louis McDonald's restaurants currently. Got the smoothies and the shakes. All at McDonald's, and they'll take $1 off. 2-0 the count here on Matt Holliday. Short lead at first. 3-0. Randy Wolf asking for trouble right here. Very short lead at first base by Craig. Changeup at 77. That is pitching right there, isn't it?
That's really what he does. And don't be surprised if he doesn't do the same thing with a 3-2 pitch or throw a curveball. He's very confident, and that's the whole command question. It's not can you throw the pitch, but can you throw it any count to any hitter, any night? And that's what good pitchers do. And that's why he's won 130 games in his career.
Holliday skies one into center. Gomez now picks it up. Time of night where it's not all that easy for anybody to find the baseball, and he did to make the catch. We're at Busch Stadium in St. Louis, inside the Central Division. The Cards and Milwaukee. Dan, Rick, and Jim with you. They're celebrating the 1982 championship team all weekend long. Aoki, the leadoff man, is 2 for 3, and Joe Kelly so far 4 innings. He's given up 9 hits, but only 3 earned runs as Milwaukee is stranded 6.
Celebration, the right word, too, because you think about that 1982 theme song for that team, the Kool and the Gang song, Celebration. Every time I hear that song,
I think 1982.
I think 1982, and I think world champions.
That's a fair ball. Down into the corner. Craig digging for third. Now they'll wave him in. He hesitated, and they stop. Almost as if they were trying to deke him, and Craig had initially slowed down, stopped, got going, and then stopped again and went back to the bag at third.
Looked to be laboring a bit between short and third. I don't know if he was just on a misstep or was just not sure whether he was going to go or not, but there's the ball off the backhand of Ransom. And here's Craig running fine there. Good turn at second. And then just gets a little unsure right around the bag and maybe had a misstep on the bag.
Another factor of that is Oquendo. Once he sees that Craig is stopping, he has to stop the man behind him, making sure you don't run into a potential out.
You're a traffic cop at that point, and you got to hope that Beltran's got his eyes wide open too and knows what's going on in front of him. That's part of a runner's responsibility as well. Beltran's not able to add to his league-leading RBI total. He's first, Holiday second, Braun is third, and they're all in this game in the National League in RBIs. David Freese has 59 of his own.
And one of the hottest hitters in baseball coming into the month of August, hit close to 500 in July. 2 balls and no strikes.
And Dan, I think this is what makes the Cardinals so good. You get an RBI situation, you get through your big power guys 3-4, and then you still have David Freese and Yadier Molina to follow. There aren't very many teams that go that deep with guys that have such power potential. Cardinals with 5 players with 15 or more home runs.
Freese, bouncer up the middle. 1 run is in. Here comes Beltran. He will score. Freese gets him on the board, and it's now 3-2. 61 driven in by last year's MVP.
Very simple approach. Just hit the ball up the middle, and it produces the desired result. Wolf can't get it. 2 RBIs for Freese. Cardinals back in it.
Molina first time up with a base hit. We haven't seen many base runners tonight against Randy Wolf. Lefty with a pretty decent move. You wonder how aggressive the Cardinals would like to be because of that. Very slow to the plate at 66 miles an hour.
I think a lot of Cardinal fans may wonder, why do so many pitchers throw to first base when David Freese is at first? He's not a guy that steals a lot of bases. I think the reason is Yadier Molina's often behind him, and a guy that would be a natural hit and run guy, and they're just trying to minimize the effectiveness of a potential hit and run, so they do want to keep David Freese close at first. We haven't seen a lot of hit and runs with this combination, but certainly makes sense.
Cardinals are 3 spots away in the lineup from Joe Kelly, and now they're going to get activity up in the bullpen. That's a final. The Reds do it again. They win. So Cincinnati behind Matt Latos tonight. They defeat Pittsburgh, so they're 4.5 in front of the Pirates as we speak, and Cincinnati at 65 and 41. Yachty pops it up into shallow right for out number 2.
So your glass half full answer is good. We can catch the Pirates by one more game.
This time of year, you start looking at that wild card. Cardinals, if they win tonight, would pull to within 3.5 of Pittsburgh. Here's Descalso, hit it sharply. First time up, it grounded into a double play. Here in the second half, we've seen Daniel getting the bulk of the playing time at second base, plus defender. Lefty on the mound and still going with Descalso.
Fun to hear Bruce Sutter in his visit with you earlier in our telecast talking about how important the defense was to the 82 Cardinals. He talked about a lot of good players, good hitters, good pitchers himself, but speed and defense matter. And he thinks that there's still a place in this game for speed. The Brewers have 87 stolen bases. They're third in the National League. The Cardinals about 20 behind them.
And again, that was a team in '82 that had 200. The St. Louis Cardinals.
That's right.
Here's a 1-1 pitch. Ball scoots away, and Freese will advance into scoring position. It's a very hot night. It's been that way day after day here in the Midwest and in St. Louis. It's muggy as well, and Randy Wolf has really slowed things down. Almost as if he's hurt or just trying to catch his breath on a hot night.
I agree. Not a very good defensive effort by Martin Maldonado to try to block that ball in the dirt either. Just kind of stabbed at it. Really not a lot of movement with his lower half.
I'm wondering if something is just not right with Randy Wolf. He's been stretching out there a couple of times.
He's agitated at the very least.
Yeah. 3-1 pitch. Descalso picks up a base hit. This game is tied. Freese will score. Daniel on his way to second base in there safely. 3-3 here in the fourth.
Descalso has done such a nice job hanging in on left-handed pitching. Keeps the front shoulder in, drives it the other way, ties this game. And Randy Wolf does not seem right in this inning. That's clear. The Cardinals have picked up 3 and may not be done yet.
Two-out hits a part of this game. The Cardinals pick up a 2-out RBI double by Descalso, his 14th ribby this year, and now Shane Robinson. Now, they were just looking over at the on-deck circle. They did see Kelly. He's on deck. You have the 8th place hitter in Shane Robinson. It's always interesting to think from the perspective of Milwaukee. Are they better off saying, well, if we walk them, Mike Matheny makes the move, we're going to see their bullpen. Are we better off sticking with Joe Kelly right now because he can't find the strike zone?
A lot of variables. You can certainly make a case either way.
There's that changeup, 1 ball and 1 strike.
And I think when you've got a veteran like Wolf and a young hitter like Shane Robinson, who can be susceptible at this point to off-speed pitches, I think you just let him pitch to Robinson.
Got him to ground out to short. Check swing and in the hole, 1-2.
And he's pitching to him in a way that he knows he's going to stay out of the middle of the plate. He knows he has maybe a margin that he can go off the plate a little bit if he walks him and he's not worried about it. And that's part of the thought process of Randy Wolf right now. And you know, you don't even have to tell him that. A young pitcher, you may have to go out to the mound and say, okay, here's what you're doing. But Randy Wolf knows what he's doing. Now, he may not execute, but I guarantee he has a plan.
Robinson in the air, right side. Hart is over and out of room into the Cardinal dugout. 1 ball and 2 strikes. We've heard about the heat. We know it's hot, but if you're not used to it, it can knock you. And I just wonder if Randy Wolf is dealing with the heat, or is it something else that we just don't know about?
Well, he had to deal with the heat and Alan Craig and Matt Holliday and Carlos Beltran.
I may come up with a hamstring injury too.
Well, he does look a little flush, I would say, as we kind of have a close-up of him, and he is 35.
Two and two the count. Normally Randy Wolf is a fairly quick worker too.
We saw that with Clayton Kershaw here. The same look, just worn out looking on the mound.
The 2-2 outside, 3-2. Nobody getting loose in the bullpen for Milwaukee. Joe Kelly is on deck. Cardinals at this point with 3 left-handers in their bullpen. One of those lefties is up right now. Walk to Robinson. As Mike Matheny pulled back Joe Kelly.
I'm okay with Joe Kelly hitting here. He swings the bat well.
Kelly, base hit. Descalso being waved in. He will score. Joe Kelly comes through. 4-3 St. Louis. They sit down in the bullpen of the Cardinals, and Joe Kelly picks up his second RBI.
A hanging breaking ball, not a sharp pitch at all from Randy Wolf, and he just jumps on it. Kelly is second major league RBI.
Remember, he had Robinson at 1 and 2 before Joe Kelly couldn't put him away. He walked him, and now it's the 9th man to come to the plate this inning. Long inning for Randy Wolf. Cardinals have put up 4 runs, and they lead it for the first time in this ball game.
I think laboring would be the right word for Randy Wolf right now.
It's out of play. 1 ball and 1 strike.
Don't you just want to bring him an energy drink or something? Looking at his face. We saw the manager, Ron Renicky, had one. Maybe go out and have a visit with him and bring him a drink. Bring him a towel.
Stretching out in their bullpen, but nobody throwing for Milwaukee. For Kyle, bounces it to short. Izturis, force play to Weeks at second base. That was close. Kelly hustling all the way. 4 put up by St. Louis, their first lead tonight. 21 gold medals to lead in the medal count. Joe Kelly being very aggressive into second base. Ouch. Be careful.
He could have hurt Ricky Weeks and himself.
Yeah. There is no give on those bags, Rick, and you know, if you're not around the major league game, you don't see that day in and day out. There is not any give whatsoever.
Not much give with Joe Kelly either. We've already seen him take headers twice on the base paths. Not afraid to give it the full effort. That's what we saw there, but sometimes you got to maybe dial it back a bit for safety reasons.
August 18th, shaping up to be a very big series here in St. Louis. Creve Coeur Camera Day. And the Pirates will be in town. You'll be on the field taking photos of your favorite players, coaches, the manager, and Fred Bird. Cardinals.com for tickets. Big weekend coming up against the Pirates.
And how often do we talk about this, Dan? And the reason we talk about it is we've seen over the years how critical it is what you do after your team provides a lot of support for you. There really is a mental, kind of even emotional factor from the player standpoint about what happens when you settle into a lead or settle into a deficit, which the Cardinals are trying to put that feeling on Milwaukee here.
Last two innings, we've seen him pitch inside and do so effectively. 1 ball, 1 strike. Corey Hart has singled back in the second inning and walked in the third. Cardinals have Wainwright against Mark Rogers tomorrow. Loesch and Marco Estrada. It'll be Sunday Night Baseball. Again, we'll come your way tomorrow at 5 o'clock. Extended pregame coverage here on Fox Sports Midwest.
I think over time, Kelly will learn a 95% delivery as opposed to a maximum effort delivery that I think we see from him quite a bit. And what I mean by that, and you'd hear Greg Maddux talking about pitching, and one of the things that he loved to say is, I never, ever, ever threw a ball as hard as I could. Because you can't pitch there. You pitch it, and he would say 90%. You get enough velocity there, you get more movement, and certainly more command.
3-2, and Hart pops it up to the right side. Alan Craig is over and out of room. We'll do it again.
And I really don't blame the young pitchers for thinking that way, because even the scouts and the signing and the minor league play, they're so gun conscious. You can go out there and give up 8 runs, but somebody will say, yeah, but he threw 95. So what are you training young pitchers to think?
This is popped up and playable. Going out, Rafael Furcal back in the lineup tonight and healthy. Makes the catch. Again, if you just joined us here tonight, Lance Berkman put on the disabled list right knee inflammation. Remember, he was hit on his surgically repaired right knee back on the 24th of July, and he still was trying to get things back, and he's called it a slight setback. He also said to the media before the game that he does and intends to play again, not just this year but beyond. What that means, 2013, 14, who knows? Will the body allow? And you wonder if it means the potential of the American League too. We might be better served as a DH. Some of the pounding that the body may take wouldn't happen playing a position.
Well, the older you get, you find yourself getting stuck when you get hurt in the middle of the season because you want to come back and help your team, so you might rush it, but you may not allow the proper healing. And that's probably happened at least once with Lance this season. And it's not that the trainers and coaches and Lance himself are not understanding that and doing their best to overcome that, but you obviously don't heal as quickly when you're older, and you just keep taking that chance.
Kelly hops off the mound and throws a strike to first. The more you watch him, you just see how athletic he is. It's been fun to watch. Gets the first two, and now it's Maldonado.
Very quick in his response, sees the ball hit to the right side, so he runs there, then he steadies himself and throws one about 95 to Alan Craig.
Strike to Maldonado, and talked about it earlier that Joe Kelly would give you the innings. Looks like he's settling in now, but does he have run support? Well, tonight he's got 4 runs. Back to Kelly, and he'll just take it himself. Midway through 5, 4-3. Continues on a veteran-led service project in Belleville. That's on August 18th, and it's expected to be the largest project yet from the Summer Service Slam campaign. We need your help. Reserve your spot online at missioncontinues.org. Greg, Holiday, and Beltran. Run differential this year has been a bright spot for the Cardinals. So much so you'd say on paper, not knowing anything else, they're close to 100, plus 100. You'd say, well, that team has got to be winning a lot of games, running away with their division. Not so. And to think that you look up and Berkman's got a couple of home runs and only 7 RBIs, and still the run differential is like it is, very, very surprising.
Yeah, it's a bright spot, but it also picks at the sore, doesn't it?
And you wonder what exactly is that sore of this team?
And that is the million-dollar question right now for Mike Matheny and John Mozeliak and the coaches and the players themselves. 2 balls and a strike on Alan Craig. Now you can explain away some of the run differential issues by saying, well, that's just because there's a few games where we've just blown teams out. We get 13 runs, we get 12, and so the offense is a little skewed, perhaps, on some of those blowouts. But even so, it's still an indication that your offense shouldn't be shut down with 2 or 3 runs on the nights that they are.
And Rick, you think about at times this season, maybe it's been 3 or 4 weeks, you say, and this is before the trade deadline, well, you have to address the bullpen. Then the bullpen gets going, right. And then the starting rotation has a couple of bumps in the road, and you say, well, that's where you have to address it. There has been, in many ways, no clear-cut answer to trying to address whatever problem this team may have.
And there's been a defensive lapse in the last 30 days. Not a terrible one, but a bit of a lapse. So you try to get it all together. And who knows, maybe this homestand is, and 20 out of 23 here at Busch Stadium is just what the Cardinals needed to get everything gelling together and working in unison. But we just haven't seen it for prolonged periods of time yet. You know it's there, though.
Full count on Craig. The Cardinals at home, and this has gotten better. Cardinals start play tonight 29-21. Remember, for better part of the first half, they were hovering around the 500 mark. Craig lines it out to left field, and that gets by Braun. He misplayed it out and left, and Craig winds up at second base. The sinking liner getting by Ryan Braun.
Not an easy play, but a lot of indecision on Ryan Braun as he was going after that ball. Does he come in? Does he go back? Does he dive? And he just seems to be kind of caught in the middle, and then he tries to catch it off the ground, and almost he's backing up as he's, and almost slowing down as he reaches down to catch that ball. He just seemed to be off stride a bit. And he's worked to become a decent outfielder. He was not a very good third baseman. He knew that. The Brewers knew it. They put him in left, and he's been decent there.
Holiday hits one out to Braun, and this time he makes the catch. So you look at this historically in baseball, the Cardinals plus 96. I mean, that is tremendous, but yet the record doesn't indicate a team that would be plus 96.
Well, and you're looking at the lowest winning percentage when you lead the major league, all of the major leagues in run differential. The Cardinals this year, and of course the year's not over, but that stat in over 50 years of accumulating that number.
Beltran hits it down the left field line, and that ball is foul. Home run distance, plenty of that. Pulled it just a bit foul.
The Cardinals can reel off 14 out of the next 15 games or so. We won't be worrying about run differential anymore.
Not at all.
But right now, I think it's a legitimate question.
It's popped up to the right side. Corey Hart makes the catch.
So I see that was an Allen Craig double, if I'm reading the scoreboard correctly.
So leadoff double, and still standing at second base, Craig. And here's David Freese, who got the Cardinals on the board with a base hit to score 2 back in the 4th.
At least a little question in my head of whether or not that would be scored an error or a hit. But when it's our guy, we'll take the hit.
One ball, one strike. fights it off as he pops it up. Hart, foul territory with room, and makes the catch. Cardinals waste that leadoff double. Lead the ball game as we head to the 6th. When they're on the road, or the fleece travel blanket, brought to you by Delta Airlines. And that'll be Tuesday. Coming up Tuesday, 25,000 fans ages 16 and older receive the Delta Airlines Cardinals travel blanket. The Bruce Sutter bobblehead, and apparently with that bobblehead, it really is very similar to the 1982 version of Bruce Sutter. He is gripping the baseball with the split finger grip.
I like it. That bobblehead was getting a workout.
Yes.
Bruce Sutter, one of our favorites. Don't call him Hall of Famer. Call him friend.
There's Cody Ransom. The top of the 6 rolls in. 4-3 St. Louis on this Friday night. And look who's still in the game. It's Joe Kelly.
.92 pitches through 5.
Story tonight, David Freese continuing his torrid pace since the beginning of July, and then what he's done this year against the Milwaukee Brewers. He sits safely in every game against the Brewers this year. What's on Tap is presented by Budweiser. And look at that. I think Vince Scully and the rest of the crew will be doing the game of the week as you see our graphic. What's on Tap tomorrow at 5? The 1982 World Series reunion. We're going to have a lot of fun tomorrow night.
We are going to go old school, aren't we?
Yes, we are. I have an outfit picked out for Al, circa 1982. I'm told that my outfit is a cross between 76 and maybe 72. I may go the other way.
I've seen it.
You've seen me wear it.
I've seen you wear it. And I know folks are going to be in for a big thrill. That's all I can say.
Looking forward to it. A 1 pitch to Isturis, taken low.
Makes me think of the bus trips and the plane trips where the players, the veteran players, make the young guys wear
odd-looking outfits.
Outdated. We'll use that word. Outdated outfits.
You know, that's been a trend in baseball this year with many teams. The themed road trip. We've had that. That was earlier this year. Tampa Bay has done it multiple road trips. Ron Renicke's buddy, Joe Madden. Those two were coaches in Anaheim.
So much pressure in this game, if you let there be. I mean, you've got to find ways to release it. And we always think about baseball players as if they're mature men, 40-year-olds. Joe Kelly is 24. Think about a 24-year-old that you know, and imagine them being in this kind of pressure situation. And you just have to be a kid every once in a while. Let them do some fun things.
Strikeout of Isturis, 82-mile-an-hour changeup.
That changeup's not a bad pitch for him. Has good arm action on it. He sells it. Worst thing you can do on a changeup is to slow your arm down. Takes away the trickery of it.
Randy Wolf has been on base twice. Reached on a fielder's choice and also a bases loaded single that brought in 2. I get the feeling he would just assume, let's get this bunt down as quickly as I can and turn right to the dugout.
I think him failing to get his tourist to third base in the 4th inning was a key moment in this game. Not
Definitely.
One that really stands out. You say didn't produce a run, didn't kind of stick out, but if that's successful, then you have a very different 4th inning. And maybe Joe Kelly's not in this game.
Kelly goes to first base. Talk about the aggressiveness of the Gold Glover 4-time winner Yadier Molina, and he has made a huge impact defensively in this game.
He's got a base hit. That's one thing he's done, but the defense is what really matters. Here he cuts down Gomez, stealing with a perfect throw, and there's the Wolf bunt that's not successful. Lead runner is retired, and then he picks Wolf off of first base as he digs the ball out of the dirt. So there's another base runner that has to take a right turn and sit down. And so Yadier Molina really having an impact with his glove and his arm.
Runner in scoring position. That'll be all for Joe Kelly. AT&T, the nation's largest 4G network. AT&T, everything possible. And by Ford, the official vehicles of the Cardinals. Ford Mustangs and trucks will be leading out the 82 team tomorrow. We'll have that for you. Extended pregame show tomorrow at 5. And here is Browning, and he has been everything the Cardinals could have hoped for. And this call to the bullpen brought to you by Chevy.
Game's on the line, and you have 3 left-handers in your bullpen, and you trust Barrett Browning with this situation. Talking about Yadier Molina and just how good he's been tonight defensively. You look at the best caught stealing percentage since 2004. Henry Blanco, backup catcher most of his career, known for his defense. The only one with a better percentage than Yadier Molina, whose brother makes the list. Jose. So 44%. You throw out 40% or more, that's top notch. This year, Yachty's at about 46.
Aoki looks at a breaking ball and a strike. Albert Pujols with another home run tonight. It's now 9 in 17 games since the All-Star break. Up to 23, so it looks like he'll get to 30 with ease yet again. Upton brothers both homered tonight for home run number 100 of their careers. One pitch to Aoki. Just missed. RBI back in the second with a single. And also a base hit in the fourth. Two and two. And it's hit the other way, but David Freese, playing well off the line, makes the play. Good work by Browning. 4-3 St. Louis. Cardinals and Brewers, and it's the replica ticket tomorrow. Brought to you by Tickets.com. The ceramic ticket that you'll take away. The White Rat is out of town tonight, but he's back tomorrow, and most of his team will be here. And looking forward to seeing so many of the guys back. We'll actually have a roundtable discussion about 3 o'clock tomorrow. Air portions of that on Fox Sports Midwest in September, it looks like, and then come on over to the ballpark and begin the ceremony. Should be a great night to celebrate the 1982 team.
And speaking of celebrating world championships, if folks have a chance to pick up the 2012 Cardinals yearbook, It is just a wonderful publication. And one of the things in it are the top moments that define the Cardinals World Series legacy. And there's so many moments in it. And many of us were asked to vote on which the best ones were and over time. And they list the top 25 moments. And it really is a special yearbook.
Yadi hits it out to deep right. Aoki is back. He'll look up and it's off the wall, but plays it perfectly. And that is a long single off the bat of Yadier Molina. He was a Gold Glover over in Japan, and he just showed you why. Gomez backing up and Aoki making a fine play in right.
And you can see why he was a Gold Glover. Just good instinct on this. He goes back, then he starts to work back towards the field because he knows how the ball's going to hit off the wall. So he starts to head back towards the field, gets the perfect hop, and makes a really good throw as well.
Here's Descalso, who's bunting, and the only play for Randy Wolf to go to first. Fans, you can chat right now with the 82 team. Tweet your question to @FSMidwest, the hashtag 82 reunion, and we'll ask the players from the 82 World Champions your questions and post their answers on Twitter. A number of those questions have been coming through, and make sure you do that because the guys are in the suite tonight, and you have a chance to have a Q&A with them via Twitter. Got a right-hander getting loose in their bullpen, so Ron Renneke is going to make the move.
Henderson has been their most reliable reliever of late. Throws hard. Anxious to see him.
It's Jim Henderson, big righty. He'll come in. That's it for Randy Wolf. Cardinals on top by the score of 4-3 in the home half of the sixth. Here from smoking related illnesses, including cancer, heart disease, and stroke. 10,000 in Missouri alone. Call the Missouri Tobacco Quit line to quit right now. 1-800-QUIT-NOW. Chevy call to the pen. It brings in the big righty.
29-year-old Jim Henderson throws in the mid-90s, and he has spent 9 years as a minor leaguer. So talk about perseverance. He was signed in 2003, and he has just stayed after it. I mean, here's a guy that hasn't pitched in the big leagues until this year, and he was originally drafted by the Montreal Expos. That tells you how long it's been that this guy's been toiling in the minor leagues, but he's getting an opportunity with some of the injuries and the trades that the Brewers have made.
Molina with 4 consecutive multi-hit games. He's at second base. Remember, now that Wolf is out, both starters are out. Joe Kelly, 5 2/3, 3 runs, 10 hits, walked 2, but only 3 runs allowed. Big fastball slider. He's from Calgary. The closer at AAA. Look at Yachty stealing third. It goes into left field. Molina on his way to the plate. Braun airmails it. And Yachty single-handedly making a huge difference in this game tonight.
Yachty is so good at reading the pitcher when he's not paying attention to it. And he will go off the first move, get the big jump. Now the throw from Maldonado is rushed. And Ryan Braun shows off his arm to no avail. That was headed for the second row. What a smart player.
Two and 1 the count on Shane Robinson.
Yachty wants to show the 82 guys that they weren't the only guys you could run. Wonder if Lonnie Smith ever did that.
Lonnie had 68 steals.
I imagine he did. Skates.
Skates was all over the place. You had Silent George. You had the Wizard.
With Kelly falling twice on the base pass, Al thought it might be a good idea to start calling Kelly Skates. Which I thought was a pretty funny thought. We'll see if that catches on. George Hendrick, anything but. Wonderful teammate.
First base coach, if fans don't know, with Tampa.
And a really good coach, too. Big hit in the World Series. Keith Hernandez did as well. John Stuper pitching game 6.
Here's a 2-2 pitch. Oof. Almost got Schumacher. Almost got the bat boy. Anytime that we see that happen,
yep,
you think of Juan Encarnacion.
Yep.
It's hard not to. Aaron Miles was at the plate. Very late swing, just like that.
Ugh, what a horrible moment that was.
Yes, it was. That's a base hit inside that first base line. And Robinson will stop at first base. Aoki was playing very shallow. And just went with the pitch, and it's a base hit for Shane Robinson.
There's the delivery outside half. It is up a little bit. Robinson gets on top of it. Keeps it fair. I know he's happy to be back. This game was a rematch of the Kelly Wolf game on the 17th of July. In that game, Wolf was a little bit better, and in this game, Kelly was a little bit better. Not great, but I would say good enough to win.
Skip would be the first one to tell you that he is not the greatest defensive second baseman that's ever played the position. Having said that, and many times when you ask him about himself, Skip, it's a lot of gee, shucks, and boy, we got a lot of great players here. And I don't know about you, but at this point, you get a look at the 82 graphics, but underappreciated with what he's done. The transition to second base, he does not embarrass himself there.
No.
His on-base percentage is over 400 this year. He's been terrific with runners in scoring position. We've talked a little bit about his presence inside the clubhouse. He's been on 2 World Series teams now. all said and done, he's going to have a nice major league career.
He already has. And underappreciated, maybe contract-wise, maybe globally, maybe not the most household name in all of baseball, but I don't think he's underappreciated in the clubhouse.
Not at all.
What you mentioned about how much of a glue player he is, he's really a presence in the clubhouse.
And the flexibility that he gives Tony La Russa and now Mike Matheny by being able to play with a plus arm all three outfield spots, and then especially in the National League with double switches being a part of the game, you can move him to second base. The role of a pinch hitter, he's fine with that. And really, you look up at the numbers, he's had a pretty good year. 321, 19 RBIs, puts it in play. The runner going, that was Robinson, and Schumacher is retired.
I don't see Skip fighting himself as much as he did early in his career either, and I think that's a big plus for him. Hit and run. There's the umpire right behind the pitcher. There goes Robinson. The umpire has to try to get in position for a play at second. Then he realizes, uh-oh, low bridge.
Hit the deck. Rafael Furcal hitless tonight. Furcal bounces it to the right side. Hart can't make the play. Robinson being waved in. He will score, and it's 6-3 St. Louis. A ball that has to stay on the infield. Hart could not knock it down, at least. It's an error on Corey Hart, who, by the way, was a first baseman in the minor leagues for Milwaukee and then moved because of Prince Fielder. So he's not foreign to this position, and it's an error that drives in Robinson.
And it certainly is a bad play by Corey Hart. He has got to let that ball, keep that ball from getting into the outfield and preferably catching. And that's plan A, but it's certainly not even plan B, C, or D to let that ball roll into the outfield to give the Cardinals another run. That's an absolute gift.
Fastball at 95 to Alan Craig. Craig 2 for 3 this evening. A double last time up. Just last inning, he's had a single and a run scored and was called out on strikes against Randy Wolf back in the first. Run differential, we're trying to figure out some reasons as to why the Cardinals' record isn't better with being plus close to the century mark 100, but 2 runs or less. Struggled in those close ball games, 3 or more runs. And you see the second best at 20 games above.
Mike Matheny's quick to point out on those close games that a lot of those close games are games where they were way down and they battled back into the game late to make it close. They just couldn't come all the way back, and I think there's truth to that. But I still think the Cardinals have to find ways to win the games 3-2 and 4-2 and 5-4, and they've been too often on the short end of that. In fact, it happened on the road trip a couple of times. A couple of tight losses and way too many of those.
You think about that Cup Series and frustration of a weekend ago. This time last year, Ron Renicky and the Brewers caught fire, won the division. A year later, a situation where they've traded one of their aces in Zach Greinke. Markham has been hurt. Closer not the same. Neither is the record. Craig with a high fly ball out to right. Aoki is back and makes the catch. Just enough room. Yadier Molina. He's been all over the place tonight. A steal. The air on the throw. He would score. Redbirds lead it 6-3 as we head to the 7th. Yadier Molina, our Schnucks difference maker tonight. Pair of singles, the run score that you saw going to break last inning with his steal, followed by the air from the catcher Maldonado. Schnucks difference maker, Yadier Molina. 10 hits aside. There's 2 errors by Milwaukee last inning. 6-3 lead. That's Game 6 and Game 7 of the 1982 World Series. The official tickets. You can pick up your replica Game 7 ticket tomorrow.
Very nice.
Well, tell me a little bit about this new right-hander Cardinals have picked up from the Florida Marlins.
Edward Mojica. First thing we can say about him is he had a good start as a Cardinal. Had a nice quick 1-2-3 inning. We thought we might see him in back-to-back games. He pitched on Wednesday, was off yesterday, and really has had a decent season. His ERA really not very good, but not a lot of hits per innings, and he's also been a durable guy in his career. Came over from the Marlins, but we've seen him in San Diego, and we've seen him as a part of pretty good bullpens, and really what he's being asked to do is to be the 7th inning guy, a lights out 7th inning guy.
Cardinals gave up Zach Cox, former first-round pick. Freese makes the play for the first out.
We also know he's a father for the first time just a couple of weeks ago, and really this move has been tough on him and his wife. But you get on a team that gets on a roll, and maybe the adjustment's not so bad.
Here is Ryan Braun. It's a fly ball into right. That will drop, and it's fair. Touched by a fan. Tom Mee, our director, telling us the gentleman that was holding up those tickets said they were $18. So times have changed just a bit from 1982. $18 to head to the World Series.
My uncle went to watch Stan Musial play in the World Series game, and the tickets were $1.75. And he and my grandmother attended a game and fell in love with Stan Musial, thought he was the greatest player on the planet, and all of my family in New York for 50 years were instant Cardinal fans.
Saw Stan the Man at lunch today. Here's Corey Hart. He was with his grandson. Remember, Braun has been dealing with some leg issues here the past 3 weeks. He's the runner at second base, and Hart hits a fly ball out to Holiday. 2 outs. Cardinals right now, I guess on paper, you'd have Mujica, and then you're looking at Boggs and Mott. So it sets up your 7, 8, and 9.
And then your left-handers become specialists really in either the 6th inning if the starter can't go that far, or in Mojica's inning, or even in Boggs' inning, depending upon whether or not it's a tough left-hander. And I think that sets up well.
Ricky Weeks. To wonder if he has been able to fully heal from the gruesome ankle injury that he had last year.
Such a horrible start to the season, didn't he? He offensively under 200 for a long time. Last 40 games he's hit close to 290. He's always been a guy that strikes out a lot, but he has outstanding power. You hang one and he runs into it, watch out.
Fly ball, right center. Backing up to make the catch. Descalso. To look at our AT trivia question. We're the 5 Hall of Famers that played. That's the key point there, that played in the 1982 World Series. Molitor, Yount, Don Sutton, you may have forgotten about his time in Milwaukee. Ozzie and Bruce Sutter. You have Whitey, who did not play, and you had Raleigh Fingers, a part of Milwaukee as well.
Who did not pitch, but was certainly there. He had a arm issue, and folks in Milwaukee certainly missed him and his availability there. And that was such a great World Series because it was the culmination of 2 teams getting themselves better by big blockbuster trades, and Whitey Herzog right in the middle of orchestrating that, and both teams got better and ended up in the World Series. Still waiting to see Matt knock that C out of Big Mac. Am I asking for a little too much here?
From him, I'd say no.
It is a little specific.
It's reasonable.
It is kind of specific, though, Dan.
I could see BP maybe a little easier, but with this guy, you never know. Last time we were in town, he hit the longest home run ever at Busch Stadium. He put on a show in Colorado, big numbers there. And I think it's safe to say he is not a product of Coors Field. back when the franchise began, the Blake Street Bombers. Resurgence of careers that didn't quite expect to see those kind of numbers from Andres Galarraga. Now he made a major adjustment. Actually started in St. Louis with Don Baylor the year before they got to the Rockies, about opening up his stance. Benny Castilla arrived on the scene. Dante Bichette. Holiday goes down to get it and flies out. This copyrighted telecast is presented by the authority of the St. Louis Cardinals and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. And the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the world champion St. Louis Cardinals.
Galarraga and Bichette, the last time that National League teammates finished 1-2 in the RBI race. And that's where we are right now with Beltran and Holiday. It happened last year with the Yankees, with Granderson and Cano. They finished teammates 1-2 in the RBIs. And to me, that just means you got a team that's scoring a ton of runs. If you've got two separate guys who are up among the leaders.
0-1 pitch to Beltran. I think it's pretty clear for anybody to see he's not running all that well in the outfield, but you'll sacrifice what defense he may give you to slow things down, make sure he doesn't hurt himself, keeps himself in the lineup every day because of that bat.
And you watch him play over time, and one of the things that's clear about Beltran is he's not there every single at bat, but he may have 3 bad at bats and then still go deep in his 4th.
Seen he's been very streaky in his career, and that's carried over to this season. He told John Mozeliak that early August Beltran's going to have 24 home runs, 76 driven in. I've been thrilled. Who wouldn't be? And he's been playing just about every day. Swing and a miss. It's out in front of the plate. Low. Connects with Hart for the out. A byproduct of making trades or standing pat is not just this year, but also looking ahead. And the Cardinals looking at a guy like Freese that will be arbitration eligible, certainly is going to make a lot more money. There's contracts that will see an increase in pay. Matt Holliday got Furcal next year. We know about Beltran. Craig is due pretty soon. I mean, those kind of things obviously are part of whether or not you can make a deal. John Vucha on the left, the farm director. John Mozeliak on the right, Cards GM.
So when John was saying that a lot of deals did not make sense to the Cardinals, that's part of the reason why. Is they're just, the contract situation may not have made as much sense as maybe even the on-field trade opportunities.
And Freese strikes out. We played 7 here at Busch Stadium. The Redbirds on top. It's 6-3. let's go to our studio and a Bommarito Sports Update with Pat Paris. All right, Pat, thank you so much. And our thanks to the folks at the Bommarito Automotive Group, their sponsorship of Cardinals baseball. Mitchell Boggs, look at that ERA, 1.58, and he's getting this done, Rick, in crucial spots.
Yeah, he's on a roll right now, and he's found a home in the 8th inning. We've seen him as a starter in his career. We've seen him as a closer, but this 8th inning role, at least for now, in his career, just seems like the perfect fit. And his command has been better.
Martin Maldonado will lead it off 6-3 here in the top of the 8th. And that command is right on cue.
I knew you were going to say that.
Boggs unhappy with himself.
Well, it's the command's right on cue if that's what he was trying to do with it.
There you go.
Bruce Sutter said they need to pitch in a little bit more every once in a while.
And I will say, when we were talking about that, it was Maldonado who was at the plate. They've been trying to go inside on him. I think it's also a byproduct of just how much his baseball right now, talking about Boggs, is moving.
No question.
He's throwing hard. Great movement. There's Cody Ransom with a runner at first base.
So far, a good job by the Cardinals bullpen. Barrett Browning got his man in the 6th inning to help out Joe Kelly. And then Mujica, the newest Cardinal, nice easy 7th.
Very important homestand, as we've talked about the amount of home games for the Cardinals in this month. And then on paper, what could be a make or break road trip end of August, early September. Reds, Pittsburgh, Washington. 1-1 pitch. That will drop and foul. Washington certainly could have a say in what happens with the Cardinals this year. Started out play 20 games above 500 tonight. 62-42. San Francisco will be in town next week. We'll see their very good pitching.
Mentioned that Wolf was 3rd in the National League in terms of giving up runs. The guy who's number 1 is Tim Lincecum.
That's just shocking. Every Cardinals win during this homestand, fans can take $3 off pavilion level tickets for the upcoming series against the Diamondbacks and Astros. So this could lead to a discount as high as $21, meaning free tickets. Stay tuned and save. For every win the Cardinals get, you save. Cardinals.com/win. That's how you pick up those tickets. Time will tell. This tourist showing bunt, looks at a strike. Vogelsong and Kane, Zito, Lincecum. The Giants have enough offense. They've added Hunter Pence at the trade deadline. Melky Cabrera might be the MVP candidate from a team in the National League West. He's had a very good year. Pablo Sandoval and Buster Posey is back healthy behind the plate for them. Offense, even when they were winning the World Series a couple of years ago, that still was what was their main concern. pitching very good. Brian Wilson at the back end of their games, but hurt again. There's a liner and 2 away. Let's hear the reception here for Nyjer Morgan.
I think that's the reception you were expecting.
Definitely wasn't a standing O. I would say the villain, the teams you were on, Jeffrey Leonard. One flat down.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he did what players in that day didn't do very often, and that was kind of show you up and do something kind of odd, and ran around the bases with one kind of arm kind of hanging down, and he said, that's my one flat down. Kind of landing an aircraft, I guess.
Kevin Mitchell, but not like that. Will Clark got under the skin of opposing fans and I guess teams too, to an extent.
And any Met.
And I was just going to say, any Met.
You were going to say, see, there we go, thinking alike again. Wally Backman, Lenny Dykstra would be kind of atop that list.
Yeah. Howard Johnson. And now Darryl Strawberry is living in the St. Louis area.
So we're nice to him now.
And Keith Hernandez is back tonight.
People didn't really dislike Darryl. They would always yell that little Darryl kind of chant in the outfield. But I don't think Darryl really rubbed everybody the wrong way the way some players do.
Oh, what a play here. Wow! Descalso robbing Nyjer Morgan with a fantastic play at second base. Cardinals baseball on Fox Sports Midwest is brought to you by Bud Light Lime. Summer is calling. And by Taco Bell, Live Más. Right there is the Ford Plaza. If you were out there, you'd have a chance to take in Cardinals Authentics, which is beyond the wall and center. And they really have some unique memorabilia from last year's World Series. Pat Daly and his crew, Mickey Bryant, putting that together and working night in and night out before the first pitch and after, about a half hour, 45 minutes after the final out. Yes, that is John Axford. He has cut his hair. He said he needed to change things up, and he has done that. Her hair is cut. Former closer of the Milwaukee Brewers.
Sampson tried that, and it didn't work out very well for him.
You know, Marty Brenneman, Hall of Fame announcer, said if the Reds at some point this year win 10 straight, I'll shave my head. Well, what happened? They won 10 straight. And I believe they raised $50,000, local charities.
And what I see coming on right now is you volunteering to do that.
No.
If the Cardinals win 10 straight, is that what I heard you say? That's what I thought I heard.
And Rick, I'm going to make this very clear to you. I've been down this road with Al.
Oh, you have?
You may have remembered a Jim Edmonds home run. And Al said that I said if he hit a home run, ended the game, that I would then shave my head, which is not true. But yet Al
remembers it that way.
Being the prankster, just leave it nice that he is, went into our video room and basically went down to Brian McCann in our truck and spliced the tape. That's up the middle and a base hit for Molina.
You realize all you're doing is giving me ideas.
I know. But I realize also you're going on vacation. So I will not worry about it.
Hey, I know people, though.
Well, I'm on the record as saying no.
Oh, boy. Not going to stop you from trying.
What a terrific play by Descalso to end the top of the 8th.
They're actually charting defensive gems now, and Descalso leads the team in that department. I don't know how you get around the subjective nature of that and who gets to say what a gem is and what. I mean, is Molina's throw to second earlier today a gem? I would say yes. Others may not.
Runner goes, and Yachty will wind up at third base. Isn't this something? Not sure if he got a bad jump. Was it a delayed steal? Was it a missed sign at the plate? Hit and run?
Looks like a hit and run.
Sure does. And watching Oquendo during the replay, he was smacking his hands very hard to Descalso, saying, come on.
I think Yachty just went into Albert Pujols' invisible mode. You know how Albert had that on the base pass? No matter what he'd do, just seemed like it worked every time.
That's a base hit for Daniel Descalso. He's had a nice ball game. Picks up his second RBI to make it 7-3 St. Louis.
Yadier Molina is now not only one of 5 Cardinal players with 15 or more home runs, but he's also one of 4 Cardinal players with 10 or more stolen bases.
Shane Robinson called up earlier today. Looks at a breaking ball and a strike. Soon enough, you'll see those minor league call-ups as well. Matt Carpenter is on deck. Saw that Matt Adams made an impact for a while up here.
He hit a home run 2 days ago.
Fought off, and it's off the glove of Axford. Descalso avoiding the tag of Ricky Weeks. I'll throw an interesting name that fans that really follow the team closely will be excited about. And maybe the organization at this point is thinking about calling up Oscar Taveras or a Colton Wong. Guys that have put together very good seasons. Some believe are on the cusp of making it to the major leagues.
People that have seen those guys play all year and know the difference say that they're both very, very close, if not already, big league ready. And that's different than having promise or ability or potential or any of that. You're talking about guys that are producing and capable of producing at this level right now.
Good problem to have, too, if you're St. Louis. You're in the race, and you're not playing young players. You're playing your everyday lineup. Guys are up here for protection more so than playing time and the experience of the big leagues. Yadier Molina, 10 steals, single season best for him. Here's a 2-0 pitch. We're watching a guy that this time last year was in the midst of a run that saw him show up night in and night out, and he was automatic. The 2-1 pitch. Late call, catches the corner. Instead of being 3-1, now you're even 2-2.
He was so consistent. He was getting the job done every single night. And really, this year has just been a disaster for him. Not just him, really, for the Brewers bullpen. Francisco Rodriguez has had troubles of his own.
The 2-2.
And the off-speed pitch just does not seem to be as effective as it was. Not enough strikes with it. I think players are just sitting on his fastball, and that may be part of the reason.
Zipchinski up and loose. The 3-2 pitch. Good battle here. Good at bat again by Carpenter. Rick, did you find it interesting that Mike Matheny, in at the time, pretty crucial spot in the game, doesn't go with the two veterans from the left side? It's Barrett Browning. It's a telling move.
I think right now he's the guy that Mike has the most confidence in. Now that can change, and it always does change as the year goes on and pitcher gets hot, another one gets hot. You kind of go with the hot hand. You prefer to have them all hot, which seldom happens. But I think that was a pretty key moment in this game. You're talking about a one-run game, and there's a guy you have to get out. And the fact that Mike went with Barrett Browning, I think, does tell me something in terms of where his confidence is right now. And again, the other two lefties are going to get their opportunities. Fuentes has been good for the most part, and Zepchinski's certainly improving as the season goes on. But Browning has been the most reliable.
1 out and 2 on for Cowell. 95 miles an hour from Axford. And the thing about Axford, too, it wasn't just the fact that he was piling up the saves, it was how efficient he was to where Ron Renicky could go with him night after night. Already, that's pitch number 22 in this inning.
Yeah, so it's 95-95, and it's 2-0. And he's got no off-speed pitch command-wise that he can come back with here. So it's going to be another fastball. So he's going to sit on one. If it's center cut, he'll get a good rip at it.
2-1.
Too often we'll look at a pitcher and say, how can a guy be so off? How can he be so off? And really, I think it really begs the question, how can he be so good last year? I mean, that's the really unbelievable thing, that for 40 to 50 times in a row he can go out and beat nails. To me, that's the crazy thing.
And there's a walk. There's been activity in their bullpen. We're watching a pitcher that's not the confident closer that we just saw a year ago, and even to an extent the beginning of this season. So Ron Renicky has to go back to his bullpen with the Cardinals a chance to blow this wide open. It's 7-3, 1 out, bases loaded when we come back. Loaded. We turn to our Nissan drive of the game, and this got things going for the Cardinals. RBIs 60 and 61 for David Freese. Cardinals were trailing in this ball game at one point, 3-0.
Those RBIs came in a 4-run Cardinal fourth inning. They've tacked on 2 in the 6th, 1 in the 8th. The lead a bit more comfortable here, but a chance to get some more here in the 8th. Zepchinski is loose. He'll have the 9th, but Mike McClendon is going to have to rescue John Axford, who just did not have it here tonight.
Bases are loaded. Alan Craig at the plate. Craig with a pair of base hits, lined out last time up. And he looks at strike one.
Very good production top to bottom for the Cardinals lineup. Every player has been on base at least once. And for Call, the only Cardinal without a hit.
Milwaukee perspective, you think about next season and what do you do at the back end of games? K-Rod, as you talked about earlier, has not been very good in that closer's role, and Axford's been demoted out of that role. Here's a 1-1 pitch. Craig back to the pitcher for the out, and they throw it away. They throw it away. A run will score. That's their third error tonight. Stopping at third for Cowell, and it has been a tough night for Maldonado. Renicky is going to argue about where Alan Craig was in the line and heading down the line.
And he's asking him to ask for some help from the first base umpire to see if he believes that maybe the runner Craig was on the inside part of the running lane and therefore obstructing the first baseman. They're going to talk about it. That's good. And if one didn't see it and the other didn't see it, and I think that's where we are. Tim Welke's going to say, I didn't see it, he didn't see it. And Ron Renicky saying, hey, I saw it. Well, they won't reverse it now. Ron Renicky's still not happy about it. He's going to have to pick his spots here with his team trailing 8-3. Whether this is worth the argument or not. But again, another error, the fourth error for Milwaukee here tonight. And that error, that error could go either way. It could either be on Hart or Maldonado.
Looking at that replay, you could see that Craig was towards the infield, making that a much harder throw for Maldonado.
Maldonado really had trouble with that from the get-go. Even the throw from McClendon, he looked uncomfortable whether or not he had actually had his foot on the plate or not. Kind of looked back. Here's the play. It's the old 1-2-3 double play. The throw home, and he's a little bit uncomfortable whether or not he actually was on the base. Then he tries to go to the infield side to give himself space. There's Craig running on the first base side. Actually, that last step right on the line. So I think that's a good no call, but I may have my rose-colored glasses on.
So with two outs, it's Matt Holliday looking at strike one. Tough game any way you want to look at it for Milwaukee. They've committed 4 errors. The offense has been there with 11 hits, but they've stranded 9. Big rip by Matt. 0-2. Holliday, a base hit back in the first. Cardinals trailed 3-0 heading into the bottom of the 4th. They picked up 4 against Randy Wolf that inning. 2 more in the 6th. 2 in the 8th. Slowly hit towards third. And Holliday, an infield hit. RBI. 9-3 St. Louis. And the RBI for Matt Holliday, number 76. Right out of the box, he was hustling. He knew he had a shot.
Yeah, he smelled the hit. He knew he just kind of tapped that ball, so he took off. Head down, fly in the first. Put a little pressure on Ransom, the third baseman, and Not one of the hardest balls that Matt Holliday has hit in the last couple of weeks, but it gets the job done.
A check swing by Carlos Beltran.
And this is a sloppy Milwaukee team here tonight.
So Beltran and Holliday tied with 76 RBIs. Third of an inning and 3 runs allowed by Axford. Book is closed on him. 1-2 to Beltran. High fly ball into right center. That'll stay in the ballpark. Didn't get quite enough. The Cardinals, though, add to their lead with 3. Home half of the 8th. It's 9-3 St. Louis.
Post-game edition of Missouri Lottery Cardinals Live. Pat Paris and Al Roboski are at Lumiere Place. Yadier Molina, a one-man gang. They'll look at his night. They'll look at some of the 1982 championship reunion doings. And somebody's going home with a hungo tonight. Mark Zepchinski on to do the pitching for the Cardinals. We head back to the booth, and Dan and Rick, guys.
All right. Thank you, Jim. As always, great job. And looking forward to hearing from some of those 82 players as Mark Zepchinski. Lefty is into the game. Cardinals leading this ball game 9-3. Could be a long couple of months back end of games for Milwaukee with K-Rod and Axford lost right now. Our player of the game, Yadier Molina, presented by Budweiser. Big night for Yadi. Those 2 runs and the steals, the defensive plays, 3 singles. Budweiser player of the game. Now, speaking of trying to get a guy right, Cardinals up by 6 and going here with Zepchinski.
He was almost right in Colorado. He pitched the 9th inning of a game there, got the first 2 guys out, then gave up a home run to Rutledge, which happened quite a few times in that series, and has over the last week. He's a good young player. But Zep just hung a pitch out over the plate in that game, so he's getting very close. Would be where I would describe where he's at right now.
Crucial last year in the stretch run.
That play down the first base line with Alan Craig. I'm getting texts from some of my buddies that are saying that they would have called him out. Just love the subjectivity and the fact that this game has a lot of nooks and crannies to it. And if you watch the pregame show, you're a fan of the pregame show, and I'm sure most folks are, they're going to be talking a lot about specific calls in the next week, and they've got an umpire on hand to help lay out some of the more intricate calls in baseball. So you're not going to want to miss that on our pregame show.
There's a line drive into right and 2 away. So just like that, 2 quick outs. And the Cardinals are not away from taking game 1. Reminder, we're on the air tomorrow at 5 o'clock. Hour-long pregame show. Booze for Braun. 2 outs, nobody on. Redbirds up 9-3. Braun with a double back in the 7th. Single in the 3rd. Two and 1. Off his foot and off the bag down at 3rd, foul ball. And it's 2-2. Fly ball out to deep center field. Robinson on the move, and that's off the base of the wall. Plays it perfectly. Fires it back into the infield, but it's cut off. Ryan Braun extends the ball game. Robinson played that very well.
Braun's 3rd hit of the night. Robinson, just as Aoki did it earlier, gets the right hop off the wall, comes up throwing, and showed a good strong arm there.
Here's Corey Hart. 2 down, runner at 2nd. .94 in our gun from Zipchinski. .93 on the gun, and again Milwaukee down to their final strike.
And I like the way he finished those last 2 pitches.
Well, there's some extra here tonight, isn't there? Especially with that fastball.
You also have to finish the slider. Maybe a good time for that. Down and in right here.
That's where they set up, and that's where it was. Good pitch.
And he finished that as well. It was sharper, had bite to it. It may be as simple as that for Zipchinski. The struggles of just kind of not fully finishing his pitches.
One-two to Corey Hart. Same pitch. 2-2. Again, a crowd tonight of 41,505 this evening. 41505. Cardinals would gain a game on Pittsburgh. Keep pace with Cincinnati. They won tonight. Cardinals would stay 8 back of the Reds. 2-2 pitch. Hard, a swing and a miss. And the Cardinals take game 1, 9-3, and a big night by Yadier Molina.
Molina, a star. The Cardinals did not panic after getting down 3 runs early. They got some clutch hits in the middle of this game, and the bullpen did a very nice job in relief of Joe Kelly, who picks up a victory. He deserved a lot more victories this year, but he'll take this one.
Tonight we celebrate the 1982 team. That team beat Milwaukee in the World Series. 2012, they take game 1 this weekend series.